Okay, am I live? Am I live? I'm not. I'm not alive yet. It's like I'm waiting to be born. There I am. I'm alive now. Wham! That was a very Buddhist thing. That was a very Buddhist opening. Okay, I am Alonzo from alonzosblog.com. Good morning, Minion. I was 16 years in Scientology, 15 years in Anti-Scientology, and now I've been 9 years out of both, writing about each. Yesterday, I did a tree hugging Buddhist, GM Flower, Ariel, good morning. I did an interview with Gerry Armstrong that went very, very well. Anytime you give Gerry a platform, you don't shut him out. You don't try to shut him up or discredit him or black PR him. Anytime he has a platform, he knocks it out of the park and he makes a ton of sense. And I am so glad that I was able to give him a platform so he could do that yesterday. So one of the things that you do when you do a 3 hour interview like that is you look over the thing to find, where the headline is. And the headline occurred in the last probably 20 minutes of the video. Someone, and I wish I could remember their name because it was a fantastic question they asked. They asked Gerry, where do you think Scientology is the most vulnerable? And Gerry said, their tax exemption. Now, that is a very, very important point. And then Gerry went into detail about how and why Scientology's tax exemption is actually their most vulnerable point. And basically, that's because they lied and they fraudulently defamed Gerry Armstrong in order to get their tax exemption. It makes the whole agreement that they had with Scientology totally weak. Why? Because now there's a guy, Gerry Armstrong, with the legal standing to challenge their tax exemption. So there are a lot of people like Captain Juju, Cajun Juju, found the lawyers who work with the Mormons. There's a lot. They're getting a lot of play here in the community, and I'm going to try to get Gerry hooked up with them. um, but then there are others. If anyone knows any attorney that is um, knowledgeable about tax issues, because you know they may be vulnerable here, but that doesn't mean they're not going to put up a fight. Okay, so we're gonna need a pretty good lawyer for this, but we do have the guy with legal standing, and we also have the complete uh, structural weakness of their agreements that can be totally dismantled in court. And so I believe that this is my top priority to work on. Because if we are going to get rid of their tax exemption, if we're going to get rid of their global real estate empire, and if we're going to get the unindicted criminals at the top of Scientology indicted, Gerry's our man for all three of those. Possibly the unindicted part, that might be a little bit different. It may not be related to how much money they have, but maybe it is, right? If they don't have tax exemption, maybe they don't have the funds to pay to defend against the criminal indictments of their leaders and top officials. So that to me was the headline. Where is Scientology most vulnerable? Their tax exemption. So I'm going to go through with this interview, and I'm going to put timestamps in it, and all that, because it is a kind of textbook maybe for protesters and activists with regard to tax exemption. So I'm going to make sure that that's available to everyone in that way. And also, I want to thank MD Media for signal boosting us. Once we got started, I saw that you went out and told your audience that we were going live. I really appreciate that kind of thing, man. Thank you very much. So, the rest of this little live here is going to be about the community and about some of the discourse that's going on with regard to me and but general like level of intellectual honesty and level of truth that's being put out by the normal media channels and how that is actually destroying our effectiveness. So I'm going to take a drink of black coffee. Didn't have any cream this morning, so it's just black coffee this morning, which is also very, very good. So there are a couple channels who are taking an interview I made, I think in maybe, let's see, I was in that old house when I did that. I think it was around 7 or 8 years ago. And it was with an independent Scientologist who is now no longer an independent Scientologist, but at the time he was. And his name is Andy Nolch. And the interview that we did was like one of the very first interviews I've ever done. And the reason I did this interview with him was because he was highly controversial. He was an independent Scientologist, and I had recently come out of Anti-Scientology. And I was kind of practicing not being afraid of Scientology and being able to tell the truth about it, both the good and the bad, which is what I did during that interview. But you need to understand that the snippets that are cherry picked from that 3-hour interview with Andy Nolch only take the things where I am talking with Andy, an independent Scientology, about the good in Scientology. We're discussing that. They completely do not take any of the pieces where, because I am talking to an independent Scientologist, I want to make sure that he hears the bad in Scientology too. And so I did. I went through a long thing about brainwashing and about the truth rundown and Maoist reconditioning and all kinds of other stuff that Hubbard put into Scientology for this independent Scientologist. So, however, okay, those parts where I'm talking about the bad in Scientology, those parts have not been cherry picked by these other channels that are trying to discredit me using this particular interview. It's like, see, Alonzo said something positive about Scientology. See, here's another time where Alonzo said something positive about Scientology. I don't have any problem with any of those statements. It's just that you're cherry picking and it's intellectually dishonest. See? But you don't care, right? You're out to destroy. You're out to put out a particular narrative, and you don't want any facts getting in your way. And that is a problem. That is the problem in this community. I have been out for 25 years. David Miscavige is still at the top of Scientology. He is still managing a global billion-dollar real estate empire, and all of the top officials who have committed criminal acts remain unindicted. So those are the standards that I apply to whether we are being effective or not. And the reason we are not being effective, in my opinion, is because of this kind of over-emotional, intellectual dishonesty where no one can actually tell the truth about Scientology. In order to tell the truth, both the good and the bad, you have to have a good assessment of what it is that you're fighting. And so when you've got channel after channel after channel outright lying to you, like me, like Nora. She says I'm a dangerous predator. This is an absolute lie. And everyone's just swallowing it, okay? And so last night I also infiltrated another chat of Selfless Self because I had caught his his live, I guess what, 10 days ago or a week ago, where he says, "I'm out, I'm done. This is too much. It's destroying my life and my mind. I got to get out." Well, I tell you what. The reason I watch that is because for 25 years, I've been doing the same thing, okay? In fact, there isn't a person in this community who doesn't hit that wall that Selfless Self hit. And then they announce, "I'm out, I'm gone, I'm gone." Well, I learned a long time ago that you just don't do that. If you need to take a break, you just take a break. You're not an airport. You don't need to announce your departures and your arrivals. See? So so anyway, I thought that that was funny, and then I don't mean funny. I mean, I was amused. I was amused because this is a phenomenon that I've seen over and over, both in myself and others in this community. And then when I saw that he was coming back into the community, okay, he wasn't done after all, just like I've done before. Like it's like they keep pulling me back in, kind of thing. Okay, he starts talking about how he needs, we need to do this and we need to do that for the movement and all this other stuff. And then he talks about me. Okay, we don't know each other. I doubt if he has ever watched even one video of mine. He certainly never visited my blog because it's down right now in the state that it's in. But I don't think he really knows anything about me. However, he felt that he knew enough to say that Alonzo is like mercury in the water supply. And then he went on to make a point. Now, here's my point about intellectual honesty. If I'm going to be intellectual honest, and I really do try to do that, I need to listen to this criticism of myself, and I need to really get what his argument is against me. And so I did, and I rewinded it and listened to it a couple times. Basically, the reason I am mercury in the water supply to Selfless Self is because in this movement, we can't have people who are basically saying both the good and the bad about Scientology. If you've got a guy who is saying something like, auditing is bad, but not all auditing is bad, okay? We can't have that. We can't have that. And why? Why can't we have that? Well, I think I know because I used to be like Selfless Self. And I have graduated from that. And one of the things that I learned and helped me to graduate from that is that when you are not being accurate, when you are not taking the time to be accurate about Scientology, when you don't care whether you tell the truth, which is both the good and the bad of anything, not just Scientology, but L. Ron Hubbard, Ronald Reagan, all of those. The truth is always both the good and the bad. When you don't care about the truth, you become sloppy. Your aim goes off. You are fooled into running into something that isn't ever going to do any good. There's like, remember, watching for 25 years, David Miscavige is still the leader of Scientology. They still have a $1 billion global real estate empire, and the criminals at the top of Scientology remain unindicted for their crimes. 25 years I've been watching this. So if you don't care about the truth, if you think that somebody telling both the good and the bad about Scientology is mercury in the water supply, you don't know mercury in the water supply, okay? You've got to tell the truth, because in telling the truth, you find the right target. Like last night, Gerry Armstrong said, where are they most vulnerable? And I've had like 4 or 5 different people in the last couple of weeks, and I mentioned this, say that, their tax exemption is a brick wall. That's where all of their legal resources, that's where everything is actually, standing waiting for any kind of a tax. And here comes Gerry, because of what he knows about it intimately from his own life. Here comes Gerry, who says, this is where they're most vulnerable. And Gerry should know. So it's that kind of thing. Seeing the nuance, being willing to, and not afraid, okay, to recognize the good in Scientology along with the bad. This is absolutely vital if we're going to be more effective, okay? And so that's my point back to Selfless Self. Mercury in the water supply. Yeah, okay. I would say that over emotionalism and the easy manipulation, emotional manipulation of critics, activists, and protesters, that is the real mercury in the water supply. That's what I would say back to Selfless Self. I welcome him back. I understand completely why you need to take a break. Take a break anytime you want. You will get sick of announcing your departure, okay? And so I would just say next time, just take a break, man. Just disappear for a while, for as long as you need, and then come back, okay? It's the only way. Take it from me. I've been doing this for 25 years. It's the only way I could have survived this for 25 years, is just taking a break whenever I want and coming back whenever I want. All right, more black coffee. Oh my God. God made coffee. I know that God made coffee. Okay. Yeah, so maybe protesters don't care about being accurate about Scientology and telling the truth, both the good and the bad. But that is precisely why their tax exemption is still intact, and they still have their global real estate empire. And none of the criminals at the top of Scientology remain, and none of the criminals have been indicted. Bad notes. I really should, make sure that I'm prepared for these things. But after that interview, man, I was a zombie. I was knocked out. And but I knew I had to get up this morning and do this. And then I've got a bunch more work to do. I need to do those timestamps so that this can be used by people to study what Gerry had to say. Very, very important interview that occurred. Very important event. And again, I want to thank the DOA for being our celebrity moderator and coming up on panel with us and discussing things and contacting Gerry and allowing Gerry maybe to be a consultant in his case with his attorney. That I think that will be very effective. Also, I want to say Selfless Self also made a very good point in his interview last night. He said, look, man, if there's anybody out there who wants some member of our community, a protester, to go to jail, you need to get out. And I agree completely. People keep asking me, Alonzo, why do you support DOA? Because the dude is in a fight for his liberty against Kendrick Moxon and David Miscavige. Can you not freaking see that? And the people that are coming into this community saying that he is OSA, do you not see the complete absurdity and how that sticks out? How it should stick out like a sore thumb. Who is the guy calling DOA OSA? Who is that guy? See? Is he just a dupe, or is he a knowing operative who's here to erode and destroy support for DOA before we get him into court and put him in jail and lock the key? Okay? That's what's going on, and that's why I'm supporting DOA, because I can see it. Can you? Can you see it? So, thank you, Selfless Self, for making that point. It was very important to make, and I'm glad you did. Okay, so we've got stuff going on here in the chat, and I'm going to scroll back all the way to the beginning. Yeah, tree hugging Buddhist. Yeah, it does appear that Scottys Attorney has one First Amendment experience, and you know, Scottys Attorney, an activist attorney who worked at Hustler magazine when Larry Flynt was being sued by the government, and his 1A activist and Gerry Armstrong. Can you think of that? So I'm going to see what I can do to help make that happen too. And that would be just reminding Scott. I've already gotten Gerry. Gerry asked for the attorney's contact information, and I've already got, like, as soon as he saw that Scotty had retained this guy, he wanted his contact information, and I sent him that. I'm going to follow up with both these guys and make sure that this little meeting of the minds happens. Thanks, Hippie Chick. It was fantastic, wasn't it? It was great. Rather be in Maui's here. Awesome. Okay, Twilight Luna asked me, did you have a problem with Andy as a person? Odd choice for an interviewer. Yes, it was. It was my very first interview. But like I said, because I had gotten out of Anti-Scientology and this guy was an independent Scientologist, I thought, what the hell, I'm going to tell the truth, both the good and the bad. And what you're seeing, okay, by these unintellectually or intellectually dishonest channels is they're cherry picking only the good parts. They're not showing when I completely destroy Scientology to Andy Nolch in this interview. And I felt the need to do it because he's an independent Scientologist. Like, dude, how come you're not considering the bad? See? So I did that, and it was an odd choice. And then about a year later is when he did the thing in the park with the dick thing. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do about this? And I just, for years, I would just say, okay, don't even talk about it, Al. So that's it. And as far as Andy as a person, I think he even said in a TV interview that he has a condition that would explain a lot of what we watch. But anyway, whatever. What do I think of as a person? I think he's fine. I mean, he had the balls to have a YouTube channel and talk about Scientology, whether he was too stuck on the good and not stuck enough on the bad, Here in Anti-Scientology, everyone's too stuck on the bad and not stuck enough on the good too. See, so it's something that goes on a lot in this world. Okay. Yes, cherry picking, rather be in Maui. Cherry picking is convenient to suit a specific narrative, and I run into it all the time. Like I'm writing this article to warn the public about this person, and then I come across something that also has to be said in their favor. And so I will say, like Aaron Smith Levin, there are people who are very close to me here who just want Aaron destroyed. And I'm saying, okay, well hold on. He also does a lot of good too. He does a whole lot of good. And I start citing, the Jordan Peterson interview and, all this stuff. And again, the truth about anything or anyone is both the good and the bad. And I see my job as a critic, right? A critic evaluates both the good and the bad. So I see my job as a critic to evaluate both the good in Aaron Smith Levin and the bad. So, I believe this is the way to be more effective. Okay? You may disagree with me, but I'm going to keep making my point. Minion 52. Most of the interview didn't bother me. It was the part about the Sea Org kids and the part about 15-year-old auditing you. Auditing 15? Oh, but again, I don't know the entire context. So this interview, Minion, is when I was on Scotty's panel, because I've never had a 15-year-old audit me. Um, so I don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to keep scrolling. Maybe you'll clarify. Minion 52. I understood nothing Selfless said. Maybe I'm dumb. Okay, I kind of got that flavor too. Like, I've read I watched the documentary the Century of the Self, and I am familiar with Walter Lippmann and other stuff, but I was looking for a point. Okay, he was describing things, and there was a point. There was a point, but I would just challenge Selfless to craft his arguments. Spend more time crafting an argument, like a thesis statement, uh, a rationale with evidence, and then a conclusion. You know, spend more time doing that, and it'll be awesome. Otherwise, I thought it was a great live. It was kind of interesting that he spoke about me. So many people are speaking about me these days, which is okay with me. Florence, hello. Triag and Burgess says it's like they all got the order to dogpile on Alonzo. That's correct. That's how this place works, man. There are certain shot callers, and then there are their minions or their flying monkeys that fan out and repeat the messaging over and over. And if they've targeted you for destruction in this community, they just keep going and they keep going. Like Nora coming up with, he's a dangerous predator. What? You know, that's the kind of stuff that has happened to me before, but no one's ever called me a dangerous predator ever. Okay, Twyla, Alan, have you been consistent since coming out of anti-Scientology? I've tried, I've tried, and I could, you know what? I can tell you it's easier because when you are allow and not are not afraid of the good in Scientology, and you've already real familiar with the bad in Scientology, but when you're no longer afraid of it, and you know that if you say this, people are going to come at you, but you have the courage to say it anyway. I think that you can get better. I've tried to be consistent. Maybe I'm not, but I have tried my best to be consistent in dealing with both the good and the bad. And the reason is because I value the truth, and I believe the truth is both the good and the bad of anything and anyone. Okay. Facts, not feelings. I saw Tree Hug Buddhist. You made a similar point in another chat. You said facts are. I mean, sorry, feelings are not facts. You know how important it is. Like when that was one of the main things about for me getting out of Scientology. See, there's so much in Scientology that makes you feel so good, and they actually say that if you feel good, if you're uptoned, then you're dealing in the truth. See? So, you know, you can be married. Let's say a woman is married to this man, and they have a belief system about how this man is so loyal, he's so in love with me, all this kind of stuff. And then a friend comes to her, one day and says, okay, this weekend, you're not going to like this. This weekend, I saw your husband with a 20-something girl checking into a hotel. And that fact goes against her belief system. And let's say it's the truth. It was. She's not going to feel good. Okay. That isn't. So your feelings uh, are not a barometer of whether you're dealing with the truth. And in order for me to get out of Scientology, one of the things I had to do was uncouple my feelings with the facts and the truth. And that can be, there's a part of that for an activist and a protester too. If it makes me like Scientology, or if it ratchets down the moral panic, then it has to be false. If it makes Scientology look benign or more objective, then it has to be false. Why? Because I don't feel that self-righteousness anymore. See? Facts are not your feelings. Feelings are not facts. So you have to decouple. But I also understand that your passion and your feelings is what drives you to get out there and protest Scientology. So it is hard, but if we're going to be effective and be on target, there's got to be some kind of self-discipline in that direction. Well, we leave that to the attorneys, True Clear Media, and I'm going to start working on that. And I know that Captain Juju, I think, will be helping me, and there's some others too that'll be helping me. Plus, who knows? I'll bet you DOA's attorneys probably will have a good referral too. So we're going to head in that direction. I'm not going to keep going on those things. They're funny though. You guys are funny here. Helped by OSA Tactics, Deb E. Helped by OSA Tactics. Thank you. This is what I love about my chat, Scotty's chat, that has also embraced me, and that is, you guys see the truth. You use your brains. You really do. It's really good. Judy, hello. Is Jerry? I do. I'm discoursing. Triagon Buddhist. I'm discoursing in the morning. Alonzo says he welcomes dissent. I do. It makes us all better. If we can intellectually, honestly engage with dissent, we can learn. It is important. Okay. Michael Portnoy. I'm not sure who to believe. Why so many lies towards your character? What is the reason behind this character assassination? Jealousy, fear that I'll take away Nora's audience, that I will expose the fact that she actually lies to her audience. Like when she tells her audience I'm a dangerous predator, she's lying. Okay, and if I expose that, it's not good for her. And if I go back into some of the things that she said that are either uh, inaccurate, so inaccurate that they are damaging to the education of her audience about Scientology, then she doesn't like that either. She doesn't want that to be done. So I think that's part of what's behind the character assassination. As far as Aaron Smith Levin goes, he's just like a reckless meathead who, he wants to fight. He wants to fight. He wants to keep his channel big. He wants to be the top. He's like the alpha. And that this is only one possible explanation. There are other possible explanations for Aaron Smith Levin too. But I think that really is the kind of dynamics that go on in this community and are the reasons behind the character assassination. Plus Scientology, okay? This is how they work. They never, like Scientology never engages with intellectual honesty with the other side. They go straight to your character and they assassinate your character and they ignore all of your arguments. That's straight from L. Ron Hubbard. Never listen to a person who is nattering about you. It's a waste of time. Just tell them they're a psycho, they're low-toned, and they need to get auditing, or we need to declare you a suppressive person and quarantine you from the rest of the group. See, that's what they're doing, right? They want to quarantine Alonzo from the rest of the group because I'm mercury in the water supply. I'm dangerous. I'm a dangerous predator. It's, it's sad, but it's also hilarious too. And one person I can laugh with about this is Gerry Armstrong, and I don't know what I would do without him. Yeah, right now there's no excuse for not supporting Scotty Hochchester. There's no excuse unless you're OSA or you're a dupe of OSA. Period. Uh, this keeps skipping. Yeah, Melody in Portland. I saw your live too, Melody. Thank you very much for that. You gave a lot of good perspective about the Father's Day protest. Thank you very much for that. You were there and you reported. Very good. When did the war against Scientology turn into a war against Scott? Once enough people had been duped by OSA. That's when. How do we pay the attorneys? Very good question, TCM. Morning discourse with Alonzo. I am sitting. I am sitting cross-legged too, and this is the comfy chair that I meditate in and have been for the last 25 years. So so there you go. Uh, the Iron Cheek is here. That video with Scotty. Okay, first from you, far off, watching Scotty go across, yelling into his signals with the wig on. That was hilarious. And then you run up and you're the migrant worker. That was freaking great. Theater people. Theater people are my people. Cajun Juju has arrived. Captain, good morning. Yeah, multiple exes have said that parts of Scientology helped them. Multiple for over decade after decade after decade. But when I say it, I'm a dangerous predator. Okay? Or I'm mercury in the water supply. I don't know. It's kind of flattering, I guess, really. People could just be gray rocking and ignoring me. And that right there will get me killed. Just saying that. I don't. I don't support anyone berating Scientologists, low level Scientologists who've never harmed anyone and never would. I do not believe in berating those people. They do not have the power to do any of the criminal activity or the abuse that is ingrained into int-based Sea Org Scientology. And so they shouldn't be singled out. To single them out simply because they're a Scientologist is the very definition of religious persecution. The Puttering Princess has arrived. You're in double chipmunk speed. Hippie Chick says, and then folks were calling him out for being in chat when Selfless was in Scott's chat a couple of weeks ago, arguing with him. They must have forgot about that. It is that's part of tribal blindness, okay? And also own personal blindness. You do something and you can't see what you did, but you can only see what they did back or in response. So when the enemy does something, everybody sees it in your tribe, but they don't see anything that they do to the enemy. The cruelty that they commit to the enemy, they're completely blind to, but they can see every bit of the cruelty that's committed against them by the enemy. Tribal blindness, not good. Critical thinker. I support Scott, and I'm going to say this 40th time. I support Scott because he is presently in a fight against Kendrick Moxon for his liberty and against the Church of Scientology. He needs to be supported, period. And while I'm around, he's not going to go after any low-level Scientologists. I can tell you that. He and I have talked about it. I've never seen him do it, but it doesn't mean I've seen every single thing he did. Right now is the situation, and that is anybody who doesn't support Scott, they don't get it. They don't understand what's happening. Thank you for acknowledging that abusing Scientologists is counterproductive. I have said it for years and years and years. And I will continue to say it. Still a freak. I don't think there is one person on this earth I approve of their behavior all the time. Even my sons, who I love dearly, I will always support them. Yeah, there's a, like, the situation with Scott right now is he's fighting for his liberty against the Church of Scientology. We should support him. If we can't see that, if we're completely unmoored from that reality, then we're being manipulated, okay? OSA doesn't want you to support doesn't want you to support Scotty against Scientology, especially right now. Therefore, you should, okay? Sorry, I'm repeating myself, and sometimes when you're in the position I'm in, you get hit with multiple people who haven't seen your videos, haven't seen the clarifications, and it can become frustrating. Tree Hugging Buddhist says, I support Scott because he is in a fight to protect all rights to protest. Yes, exactly. There are people who get it. And we just need to increase those numbers of people who do get it. And Selfless Self, I do believe, gets it. And so I think that's great. Right now, Z, I think you're right. You're either with DOA in this situation or you're with Scientology. Period. I agree with you, Z, in this situation. Okay? In this situation. Let me just say another thing that I realized. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you for your acknowledgement. I really need that. So, if you believe that the truth is both the good and the bad, then what you have to do in order to deal with that both good and bad truth is to take things on a case-by-case basis. See? Once you take things on a case-by-case basis, you start to break down tribalism and sides and black and white two-poled thinking. Take things on a case-by-case basis, and you'll be dealing with both the truth and both the good and the bad, and you'll be at a higher level of truth. You'll get higher and higher. But when you just say they're the bad guy, or we're the good guy, L. Ron Hubbard's two types of people, okay? That's when everything goes to crap, and you're easily manipulated. In fact, this thing of us against them, go against these, that is a total divide and conquer manipulating tactic that people do so that nobody turn around and find and look at that they're being manipulated, okay? Case-by-case basis. Truth is both the good and the bad. These are things I've learned, and now that I have a get rid of the blanket statements. Correct, Tree Hugger. Still a Freak says, I've changed since I started as well. We have to learn and grow or we become miserable people. That's what happened to me that's what began to happen to me when I was a Scientologist. I became a miserable person. Then I flipped and went after Scientology as an anti-Scientologist. And I found that I wasn't learning and growing. And whenever I did learn and grow, I learned and grew with socially unacceptable ideas. Anti-Scientology didn't like what I'd learned and grown on. And so I said, bye-bye. You just got to keep moving. Keep moving, man. Mrs. J, PTS, hi, I'm popping in to let you all know Alex won against Scientology today. He has the right to protest outside St. Hill. Awesome. Awesome. That is excellent news, Mrs. J. Thank you very much. Critical thinker. Belittling senior citizens was his specialty. How can you say you haven't seen it? Because I haven't seen it, critical thinker. If I say I haven't seen it, it means I haven't seen it. That's how I can say that. Um, I totally stand for freedom of speech, but I don't need to support what is said. You mean you don't need to support that kind of activity where he is going after low-level Scientologists who aren't responsible for any kind of abuse or criminality in Scientology. They've never harmed anyone, and they never would. I agree with you. And like I said, while we're in this battle against Kendrick Moxon and the Church of Scientology, if I ever see Scotty do that, I'll be the first one to come down on him. And he knows that, too. We've discussed it. I don't think he's going to do it again. Tricky Woo, good morning. Z says to Critical Thinker, was there no simple punctuation test for a master's? I was a long time supporter, but not anymore. I don't. You guys must be having a conversation that's wider than this particular thing. The Iron Cheek says, I believe Scotty changed his mind on that which is his right. He didn't chase them around a van during a storm. He didn't chase them around a van during a storm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Old North 50. I made a whole video about streets chasing people down the street. Chasing low-level Sea Org members down the street screaming at them. It was horrible. Now that I did see, and I responded to it immediately. And I made the point about how the top-down organization and the criminals are at the top, and a low-level guys. In my experience, I've worked with nobody but low-level guys. 99.9% of those people are good people. They have never harmed anyone, and they never would. They're in Scientology to help people. They're not in there to harm them. It's David Miscavige and the people at the top. Okay, they're different than the people at the bottom. So, okay, so I get, I'm going to end off. We're at about 48 minutes. Judy says to True Clear Media, he has learned and changed. What don't you get about that? It's hard. It's hard sometimes. Okay, Old Norse. All right. Thank you. Cajun Juju, the captain, says, Scott challenged Scientologist critical thinking by asking questions, maybe aggressively, but not harassing or verbally berating. Okay. So let's see. It's we're coming up on 50 minutes here. There's 106 people in the chat. Thank you very much for being here. There's 53 likes. Be sure to hit the like button. If you believe that it's important to have somebody like me who seeks to be intellectually honest, who seeks to say both the good and the bad about everything and everyone, and tries to remain objective so that we can all be more effective in getting rid of Scientology's tax exemption, their global real estate empire, and getting the unindicted criminals at the top indicted, then help me out. Subscribe. Send me PayPal, whatever. By the way, you know who you are. My noise canceling Bluetooth headphone is coming today, and I'm going to start doing videos from my 21-year-old bankruptcy truck, which is really loud and bumpy, And I'm hoping that noise cancellation thing will allow me to do videos that I can just bring right back, upload, and premiere so we can have a chat and I can be in the chat. That's my next kind of expansion of my YouTube technology. And so you know who you are. Thank you very much for that. And you will see it. You will see me using it, and my ability to expand my my ability to communicate will be enhanced because of your efforts, person who shall remain nameless. Okay, how did I get all the way up there? I think Jerry should chat with you once a week. That would be awesome. Minion says, maybe. Once we get it down, it might be easier and easier. All he has to do is just sit down, and we do like a thing. But it would also require him, like he works a full-time job as a gardener, so he gets out in the dirt and he pulls weeds himself and he climbs trees and snips things. And whenever I call him, it's usually towards the end of the day. He's just come in from work and he's really tired. So who knows? Who knows, man? That might be torture for him. Because he would also have to keep up on everything. See? He'd have to dive into YouTube. And that's hours and hours and hours, man. God. Rather Be in Maui says, not even mild-mannered MD Media was perfect in all his interactions. We are human. We get frustrated. Scott does better. MD Media did better. Learning is improving and showing it in actions. Thank you very much, Rather Be in Maui. So totally right. Okay. So thanks everybody for being here. Hit the like button, subscribe. Love to everyone. Thanks. Bye.